Hi friends, it's Jess with Our Bipolar. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, just a little bit about me. I have bipolar 1 and I was diagnosed about 26 years ago when I was a sophomore in college. Today we're going to be talking about those times a little bit. I'm going to be talking about why bipolar had to choose my career. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask you to subscribe, like, comment, all the things. I would love to hear from you down in the comment section on this topic. So we're gonna go into, why bipolar had to choose my career and, go through what I majored in college, just kind of the whole process, different jobs I've had, what has worked, what has not worked. So first I'll start with the college experience. It was not very smooth for me. I do have a video that talks about being diagnosed in college, like I said, during my sophomore year. I'll link it up above right now and also down in the description. It's called My First Full-Blown Manic Episode. So I was diagnosed right away, but when I started college, I was pre-med and I wanted to be a doctor. So I actually wanted to be a psychiatrist, not knowing that instead I would become a psychiatrist's patient. So I was, taking all these really difficult courses, at least for me, all these science courses, biology, chemistry. I was taking calculus, things like that. It was really difficult. And then once I was diagnosed, it was just too hard for me. I mean, maybe someone else with bipolar could carry that kind of a course load, but I just couldn't. And I ended up having to leave school, with my manic episode. It was severe. It was, yeah. Some people think that mania is supposed to be fun, maybe in the early stages, but mania is very destructive. I actually wasn't hospitalized, but I should have been. I was fully in psychosis, all of that. So anyway, I ended up having to leave school and I took a semester off. And then I started going to school at a college in my hometown called Washington and Jefferson College. And that's where I finished out school. When I went to W&J, I knew I was gonna have to change my major, but I was kind of scared. Like, I didn't know what I could do just to get through school and also as a career. So I kind of started out just taking some general classes, and as I did that, I took an Intro to Lit course, and I just fell in love with it. I mean, I've always loved reading and just been very into reading, and I just thought this is a way I could get through school, I think. It sounded easier than having to read textbooks, just sort of reading a lot of novels, taking different courses, and analyzing these novels and other materials. So that's what I did, and it worked. It worked for me. I mean, someone else, you're gonna have a different experience, but this was great for me. So I actually graduated with honors, like the lowest of the honors, cum laude, but I did it. I also minored in art, not art history, art, doing things, making things, creating things. I've always loved art, not like the best at it, but it was something fun for me. It was a great outlet. And at that time, even though I had been diagnosed, I was on medication all of my time at W&J, I was not doing well with bipolar. You'll see in other videos, it took me almost a decade to find meds that actually worked. All through that, nearly a decade, I was having rapid cycling. So I was having either mania or depression every month, and getting through school and just being able to sleep, because I go toward mania much more than depression. Just getting sleep at night was extremely difficult. So just going to class, having somewhat of a social life, which I really didn't, to be honest, and having any kind of extracurriculars. I was on the school newspaper. That was kind of the biggest thing I did. Yeah, it was not easy, but I managed to do it. And, I did get some kind of accommodations through school, but I didn't have like a formally set up accommodation for bipolar, and I wish I did. So if you're in college or gonna be in college and you have bipolar, please do that. So like I said, I graduated with an English degree, and as I was going through school, I was kind of, doing some research, like what can I do with this major as far as careers? So I saw that, you could go into law, you could go, lots of things, public relations, teaching, and editing. And I thought, I'm not going to decide right now. I think one of those things will probably work for what my lifestyle needs to be with bipolar and just my interests. I thought, one of those things might work. Law seemed unlikely based on the long, strenuous hours that most lawyers put in and have to bill their clients. So I left college and, I moved away from home, which was probably not the greatest idea, but I did. I moved first to Charlotte, and then after about a year, I moved to DC. And DC for a long time was a great fit for me, even though, not being at home, I didn't have quite as much support. But when I lived in DC, I started getting jobs as an editor, as a copy editor specifically. Now, this position was actually really great for me for starting out. I wouldn't have wanted to be a copy editor forever, but just to get my foot in the door, it was really great. So as a copy editor, I had very regular hours. I worked 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, like a normal schedule. So it didn't affect my sleep. I wasn't working really long hours or having to work shifts or something that might have gotten in the way of sleep. And I had limited interaction with coworkers. Like I would have to work with people on different things, but most of my work was done on my own. And I did, as a copy editor, I went into work, but then later you'll see I was able to work from home as an editor. So after working as a copy editor at one company, I was able to get kind of my dream job, at least to start out, at the company where I work now, which is actually a nonprofit organization, and it is called the American Society for Microbiology, or ASM. So I started there as a copy editor, and it was a similar thing where it was very predictable. The work wasn't too difficult, but it was also a little boring at times being a copy editor. And I worked editing scientific articles for different journals, peer-reviewed journals that ASM published. So then from there, I was able to move up. So I've worked there now for 16 years, and I started as copy editor. I went to assistant production editor, then production editor. Now I'm assistant managing editor. So the important thing is when I was production editor, this was kind of under a different system at my company, I had people working under me. So I think I had 3 people that I was overseeing, and that was not a great situation for me. I think I did okay sort of being a manager, but it wasn't a comfortable role for me. I didn't like being responsible for anyone but myself. And this, other people they may love being a manager and having that kind of a role. But for me, it was just too much stress. It was too hard for me. So now I'm an assistant managing editor. I work on 2 journals there, and it's like the best. It's the best of everything. Like I still have work where it's not copy editing, but it is in a way sort of like run-of-the-mill work where I'm doing the same things every week. Then I also work on different projects and new things coming up all the time. So I have some variety in my job. I still have very predictable hours. Because I work for a nonprofit, we have great benefits. It's good, and I work on a team of people who I really enjoy and get along with, and we're all respect each other. We all understand each other's kind of limitations. People take time off if they need a mental health day, things like that. So I feel very comfortable in having bipolar and being open to them about it. And I've done a video talking about that as well that will pop above, and I'll link down below. But for me, it's just a great situation, and I want to keep that assistant in my title. I don't want to be a managing editor and have to manage other people, because that really wasn't a good fit for me. All right, so just a few other careers that I had considered along the way, but kind of canceled out because of bipolar, and that's just the truth. So, like I said, one was being an attorney. I just knew I could never work that many hours and it would just be too much of a strain, and I would probably start going into mania or depression because of that. Another is, like I said, I was thinking about being a doctor. I just knew it would be so hard to get through all that schooling and remain healthy. It's just a very stressful job, and you have to kind of know everything and be responsible for other people's lives. I just knew I couldn't handle that kind of stress with bipolar. Another career I considered was teaching, specifically being a college professor. I just thought that would also be too much stress and require a whole lot of extra schooling. And I knew from doing some research that most college professors, along with teaching, they really have to publish a lot, like publish articles, publish books, things like that. And I didn't really have any interest in that. Also, something I kind of wanted to do for a while was sort of be like Katie Couric or someone who was on the Today Show. I don't know, I just always thought that would be fun. I mean, now I'm on YouTube, so I sort of have a little taste of that, a tiny, tiny taste of that. But I just knew, like, being on TV or being on camera all the time, like, how would I hide when I was having mania or depression? Like, it would be so obvious at times, or I would have to take long periods of time off, and obviously that wouldn't work. And then I just discounted any career that would have long hours, overnight shift work, frequent travel. I knew that would be really bad for my bipolar. It's hard for me to go across time zones with bipolar. I end up losing a lot of sleep that way. And also anything where I had to be in front of people all the time. So like being a school teacher, or I don't know, being a trainer in a company or a public speaker. Is like, yes, I'm doing YouTube and I do some other speaking in front of people, but it's not my job. I don't do it all the time. I knew I would not, like I said, be able to hide if I was having symptoms or just feeling stress about possibly having symptoms. That would be really bad for me. So that was my journey. I'm not saying you should try to embark on my journey. Everyone will have their own, but maybe just hearing it will give you ideas, or, you know, make you think about what would work well for your life. If you're, you know, about to go to school, if you're going to go back to school, you know, lots of people who have bipolar and people who have it more severe than I do, they're unable to work and they're on disability, hopefully, because I know disability can be really hard to get. Working is not for everyone, and that's okay too. And I would love to hear in the comments, you know, what was your journey? Do you work? Do you not work? Is that going for you? I would love to hear it. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.